Coming up on this edition of Safari ChangeMakers.
Plastic burning amounts to 10% of the global carbon emissions, more than cars. And 60 tons on the Victoria Falls municipal dump burns every month or so. Now, we can stop that entirely.
This is Safari ChangeMakers. Conversations with Africa's most innovative visionaries, the guardians, pioneers, and trailblazers, offering solutions to the most pressing challenges facing the continent. Over-tourism, human-wildlife conflict, the climate crisis, and environmental degradation. Conversations that reveal bold strategies for sustainable tourism leading to economic opportunities for indigenous communities while protecting local ecosystems and wildlife. Here's your host, founder of Artisans of Safari, recognized by Travel + Leisure and Condé Nast Traveler magazines as one of the top travel specialists for Africa, Karin Jones.
I really am inspired and excited. I think the first thing that I really want to know is, where are you today? I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Hello, everyone. I'm sitting in Zimbabwe, in Harare at the moment, but I moved here recently from Victoria Falls, where my safari business is operating, but also where Ele-Collection was founded, and Ele-Collection has begun actually in Victoria Falls. So I live backwards and forwards between family life and adventurous Victoria Falls life.
How far is that commute? Is it about an hour?
That's a 1 hour flight. Yeah.
And drive, what, about 6 hours?
Drive
8 hours?
Drive African roads, you know. So
10 hours?
Like 10-hour drive.
Yeah. Before, we're going to know a lot about Ele-Collection today, but I really want to know what inspired you to start to address plastic pollution in Southern Africa.
Well, plastic pollution is the scourge on every sort of beautiful landscape around the world. I'm sure anybody listening has been to a beach where they couldn't see the sand because it was so covered in plastic. That is not only for oceanic plastic, but it's also on mainland, a problem in the mainland and ecological systems. And there was a big effort or drive going on in Victoria Falls to clean up the plastic because multiple animal species were dying from eating on the open-air dumps and the illegal dumps. Victoria Falls town alone produces 60 to 90 tons of plastic waste every month. And it's a relatively small town.
Yeah.
And that waste has nowhere to go. It's not recycled. Victoria Falls is, all these wild areas are relative islands, and any recycling happens in major cities, which are a sort of 6-hour drive away. And what ends up happening is the plastic piles up, and then when it gets too high, it's lit on fire, and then it can burn for weeks at a time. And I always, whilst, you know, I'm a big kayaker and I love the wilderness, and seeing eddies of plastic while you're paddling down a river or when you're going fishing is just absolute sacrilege. But I didn't really know what to do about it, and there was no, call it sort of inherent, I live for fixing this drive. And then one fateful day, 3 years ago, almost to the day, 3 years ago in October.
So our story begins with Larry stopping a raging bull elephant with this rock.
A friend of mine, a guy called Larry Norton, and I were kayaking down the river, and we were running back through the bush. So what we would do was kayak the river, run back to collect the vehicle. And en route, we ran across 4 elephant bulls, but far in the distance. And one of these elephants, I've never seen an elephant behave like that, just took off and ran at us, screaming like Jurassic Park.
It started screaming when it first saw us, and it never stopped. And I knew at a point in time, I was history. There's no cover, there's nowhere to go, there's no cliff or anything like that.
When an elephant charges, it makes a bellowing sound. It pierces through to your bones. And we knew this elephant wasn't stopping, so we said run. And we ran as we knew where the railway line was. Now, as you know, with railway lines, often there's a steep embankment before the railway, and that's in Victoria Falls. It's also basically what we were running towards was the immigration area where the Victoria Falls Bridge, the famous Victoria Falls Bridge is. We had about 200 meters to get there, and this elephant was about 200 meters away and was coming for us in a straight line. And Larry, he's an older gentleman, he's age 55. He just wasn't keeping up, and this elephant was coming on us. Larry is sort of a second father to me, if you want to know the closeness of that relationship. And I heard this scream, Simon, and I was saying, Larry, we've got to get there. And he's like, it's on me. He was screaming, it's on me. And I turned around.
Oh my gosh.
And
I remember standing there and watching Larry as he faced this raging bull elephant. And I remember thinking that he was definitely dead.
Larry made a last stand where the elephant was bearing down upon him, and he picked up a rock. And by divine intervention, because Larry couldn't throw a rock to hit a 5-meter wall on a given day, but on this fateful day, the rock landed square between the elephant's eyes. Now, an elephant travels at 142 kilometers full charge, and a rock missile being thrown might throw at about 30 kilometers an hour. Anyway, just the impact was perfect. Had he hit the elephant anywhere else, he would have been dead. But it hit him square between the eyes, and because it was a dusty October day, the dust covered its eyes, and he couldn't see and was stunned momentarily.
Wow.
And he tried to hit Larry with his trunk, and I screamed, run, and Larry ducked under the trunk. And we got to the railway line with the elephant close on our tails, but all of these curio guys, the guys who sell curios and artifacts, were on top of the railway line, and they'd heard the screaming of the elephant, and they knew exactly what it was. Because elephants kill them very often, these guys in the villages. And they know that sound, and they were there. There were 20 of them standing on top of the railway line. And the elephant backed off when he saw them standing on this high rise holding rocks, and then ran into the bush screaming. Anyway, we were quite shook up, and we wanted to sort of figure out what had caused this elephant to behave in such a manner. That elephant incidentally killed somebody a week later and was shot. This when they opened it up to do an autopsy, you couldn't see anything else but plastic in its stomach. I have they're graphic images, but they're worth seeing just to see how much plastic was in his stomach and the different variations of plastic.
Gosh.
Anyway, Larry happens to be the father of Ben Norton, who's one of my best friends, and we sat around having beers, me and with a guy, another best friend of mine called Rainer, and we wanted to fix the plastic problem. But it wasn't about finding a solution for certain types of plastic. As we've discovered, there are 7 types of plastic. The plastic that's recycled in Africa are types 1 and 2. They make up 20%.
Okay.
That 20% that is recycled in Zambia and Zimbabwe, it's only 3%. And that's not what's killing wildlife. So what these elephants are contracting is known as the disease known as plasticosis, which creates an inflammation of the gut, and they suffer severe pain before they eventually die.
Does it also go to their brains, though?
Elephants, when they are in pain, an elephant that's lost a tusk or has a sore tooth or has an abscess, they behave exceptionally aggressively. So it makes them more aggressive. And many of as we went down the rabbit hole of discovery, as we found, it wasn't just in Victoria Falls, it was in other ecological areas like Kariba, Gonorozo, Manapool, Chirundu. These elephants act absolutely crazy when they've been eating on the dumps. And you see the elephant poo full of plastic as you walk through the bush. And that story was what sparked us, and we wanted to find a solution to deal with all plastic, and then we were going to find a way to finance that solution afterwards. And it took us about a year. Some really stupid ideas popped up, about a year to find a solution. So you can only recycle an item 4 or 5 times before you have to add more plastic to it. So recycling kind of is more like prolonging the plastic.
Yeah.
And then turning plastic into something else, like a plastic chair or composite decking or a plastic brick. There's a small market for that. There's only so many plastic chairs you can sell.
Right.
There's only so many people that want to build a deck with composite decking instead of normal wood decking. And very few people want to build their house with a plastic brick. So you're kind of limited in your options, right?
Yeah.
What we found, though, because Ryan is in construction, is we found a technology that's sitting in New Zealand after much research that turns all plastic into building aggregate for concrete. Now, I didn't know this, so I'm going to let the audience know this too, is that concrete is made of sand, quarry stone, and cement as a mix.
Sand, what was the second thing you said?
Sand, quarry stone from quarries.
Quarry stone, got it.
And cement. And the mix of that with water will give you concrete.
Right.
Concrete is used for
everything.
Absolutely everything. And concrete is concrete. You would never know if you would never know that a different formula had been used to create that concrete. And our technology now replaces the quarry stone. So not only is it a substitute for quarry mining, it replaces the quarry stone in that mix. It actually improves the qualities of concrete so that it stops cracking. And our process uses all 7 types of plastic. And that plastic can be contaminated. So most recycling, again, you can only use clean plastic. You can't use plastic that's been sitting dirty on a dump for years.
Right.
But our process, we can dig up plastic and put it through.
You don't have to clean it first?
We can give it a light rinse, but it can take 10% contaminants. It's not for food. It's for it's finding concrete.
Right.
Well, we found a solution.
So do you melt it down or?
So now we're getting into the technical process.
I know.
It goes through a special machine called an extruder. It doesn't melt. It goes below the melting point, but it changed the chemical compound of it so that it comes out basically like a stone. You wouldn't know that it feels like a stone, looks like a stone. The only difference between that and a quarry stone is that it's a bit lighter. So quarry stone, it replaces the quarry stone. It's just like a stone.
Yep.
That is mixed instead of the stone with the
sand
and the cement.
Got it. Okay.
And in the process, you have concrete. And we have had our product tested by private institutions here and the government institutions. And they have all surpassed the quarry stone testing, which is done on MPA. And because of that, 2 of the largest pre-mixed concrete manufacturers in the country, Scribanti and Fourways, have agreed to take all of our aggregate. Not to mention 4 construction companies have also signed on to take all of our aggregate. So basically, when our machines arrive in February, 100% of that will go into the door. The plastic will go through the door. The stock will come out the door, and 100% of it will be taken and made into concrete and used to rebuild, hopefully, Zimbabwe.
Wow. Can you just tell, for people that have never been to Victoria Falls, really just a little bit about that area?
Victoria Falls is one of the 7 wonders of the world, but it also is situated at the heart of what's known as the Kasa Frontier Wilderness Area. Now, Kasa is currently the largest wilderness area on the planet. It links 32 national parks over 5 different countries: Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, Angola, and Namibia. It is also now the healthiest ecosystem on the planet because animals can follow their natural pride routes, their natural migration patterns, and because of that, they breed with other animals over a wide span, so you don't get inbreeding. But also predators like cheetahs and wild dog don't have as much pressure from lions and hyenas, and because of that, you have an influx of wild dog and cheetah and predators that were otherwise going extinct. A lot of extinction is not necessarily from poaching. A lot of extinction in the world comes from condensing these large African animals into small national parks, and extinction happens biologically. What CASA is the answer to those sort of biological extinctions. And it is, to give you a scope in American terms, it's roughly the size of the state of Texas or the size of France.
Yeah.
In terms of size, and it links 32 national parks with wildlife corridors. The only problem that within CASA, it's not a problem. Naturally, 3 million people live in the CASA region, 3 million communities.
Yep.
Including towns like Livingston, Victoria Falls, Chobe, Wangi, and these all produce a lot of plastic.
All the waste within Victoria Falls, either coming from the households, coming from the schools, coming from the hotels, tour operators, or wherever it's coming from, it's all varied by council parks and it's taken to be rubbish out. And there, it just stays there, it's just a controlled place in terms of waste, but nothing happens to the waste. So the need of this kind of an initiative is unquestionable and something that cannot even be argued about. It's everyone's desire, every tourist, the tourism players' desire to ensure that we deal with plastic while involved.
The CASA region alone produces 300,000 to 400,000 tons of plastic every month, and that plastic has nowhere to go but our ecosystem, but that ecosystem.
So it's a different form of human-wildlife conflict than we usually use that term in this way.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so strange that the plastic, dealing with the plastic problem is actually dealing with a conservation problem. Also, plastic brings animals to the feeding ground. So when they're in the dry season, when there is not a lot of food in the bush, animals come from all over to go feed on the plastic dumps.
Are they attracted to it because there's food particles on it, or the plastic itself?
There's food particles on the plastic, but also a lot of sweet food.
Right.
So imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine an animal, something with sugar is a very delicious treat.
Right. Coca-Colas and things like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, so like they like sweet things just like we do.
Yeah.
They'll feed indiscriminately, and they're like particularly an elephant. An elephant just eats the whole Mazoe bottle. He eats the whole juice bottle.
They just chew and eat the whole bottle.
Just to get the juice.
Instead of, would they prefer that to like eating tree leaves?
Yeah, I mean, elephants have, they do.
They have a
prefer
sweet
that.
tooth. Yeah.
All of them have sweet teeth. Yeah. And also in the dry season, like I said, they don't have a lot of options for food. So the dumps are where they go. And what we want to do is clean up all the food waste. I mean, all the plastic waste, and you can leave the food waste if the animals need to eat on. But
what other animals?
You'll get hyenas, baboons, bush pig, multiple bird species, warthogs, even zebra, impala. I mean, in Kariba alone, they have a report from this year where 18 zebras were killed from plastic pollution. Herds of impala, basically all vegetarian eating animals will eat on the dumps, but also meat eating animals. There's a lot of meat waste in plastic. I mean, you can imagine how much meat is in there. So scavengers are all eating on those dumps as well. So basically it's almost every species will eat on those dumps.
Obviously not everyone who grows up in Africa goes into the safari business or something related to safari. Was there something that drove you either towards this that you're working on now, this plastic solution, or towards the safari business?
I knew from a very young age that I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly, but I knew I wanted to live in beautiful places.
Yeah.
So the goal was to live in beautiful places, and tourism was the sort of obvious. Everything drew me back to tourism. And then naturally what led on from that is if I was going to play my part while I have this time on Earth, it was how would I give back? And I wanted to get into conservation. So that's kind of what led to when I didn't have, it was always in the back of my mind to do something in terms of conservation. And the elephant attack kind of sparked the drive in me to fulfill that ambition. But what I've found with Ele-Collection is that it's become actually less about conservation and more about community, in that our project promises to attach a value to all types of plastic waste. And in a place where 6 million Zimbabweans live on under $1 a day, and it's worse in places like Victoria Falls, where the farming is bad. It's more like 2/3 of the population live on under $1 a day. And most of the people that cannot get those jobs are women.
Okay.
So what we can offer now is a value to all types of plastic. And what we're finding with our women's collection teams is that they can earn between $8 and $15 every day for collecting plastic for us. And, that's 8 times what they were earning before. And once we set up our plastic banks, any household can bring us plastic. They can collect plastic and bring it to our plastic banks and earn money for that. Also in the villages, in the poor villages, we're going to give chiefs manual balers, and then the villagers can bring to the chief's village. So every village has a chief, and they can bring plastic to that chief, who will bale it and will collect it once every 2 weeks. And the knock-on effect of this is that we're injecting a easy form of income to the community, but also studies. I've got 5 or 6 different peer-reviewed papers that demonstrate when you inject an easier form of currency into an ecological community or a community based around an ecological area, wood poaching and subsistence poaching go down dramatically. So the knock-on effect will then be conservation. So the plastic waste problem can be turned into a real positive in this ecological
This is
zone.
amazing, actually. This is going to deal with 7 kinds of plastic, all 7 kinds.
All from nylon to cigarette butts to chip packets to flip-flops that have plastic in them.
Bags.
We can do styrofoam, we can do cling foam. Yeah, no, you name it, we can do it. If you see a plastic object, we can do it. A pen, a lighter.
Wow. Okay, so starting with the plastic, which unfortunately we're all using, and then working with not only women, but a lot of women in the local community in Victoria Falls, and then anywhere else besides Victoria Falls, also Livingston too, or?
So phase 1 is Victoria Falls, and then it will be Livingston. We're setting up phase 1.5 in Wangi as well.
Okay.
And so the idea is to do the major towns, Livingston, Victoria Falls, and Wangi, and then possibly the Chobe as our central point.
Okay.
There is one caveat to this. For our machines to break even, just to break even, to get to break even point, you need to process between 1,000 and 1,500 tons of plastic every month.
Okay.
So the reason I think this technology hasn't expanded throughout the globe is that alone, it doesn't survive as its own business. And Victoria Falls, Livingston, and Wangi produce between 300 and 400 tons of plastic every month, which is too much for the wildlife and too much for an ecological 7th world wonder, but it's not enough to make this a viable solution on its own. This area, Victoria Falls, Wangi, and Vic Falls, only produce 1/3 of that.
So you actually don't have enough plastic.
We don't have enough plastic. Yeah, we don't have enough plastic.
Do you have enough people to collect the plastic?
Absolutely. We've got everything else. We don't have enough plastic.
Okay.
But we do have tourism. And now tourism operators have a vested interest to keep this place clean. They have a vested interest to raise up the income of communities to stop poaching.
Yeah.
They have a vested interest towards communities there. They have a vested interest for the conservation side,
Yeah.
healthy wildlife, but also they have a vested interest in our planet and climate change.
Yep.
So just to give you an idea, 1 ton of plastic burned, 1 ton produces 2.9 tons of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now that figure means nothing until you realize that it takes 110 trees just to sequester that 2.9 tons. 110 trees. And 60 tons on the Victoria Falls municipal dump burns every month or so. Now, we can stop that entirely. Plastic burning amounts to 10% of the global carbon emissions, more than cars. So there's a big climate change action here going on as well. Now, and because of that, many companies now, and the world is moving towards corporate social responsibility. A company is not just there for profit, it's there to have a bottom line impact, to get true bottom line.
Yeah.
And true bottom line means contributing to the place you draw income from as well as profiting from it. And many companies are on board. I mean, our machine's only arriving in February, and we've enlisted 25 companies, and they pay us an amount every month. They blend it. Some of them pay it directly from their company. Some charge it on to the client, but one way or another, they contribute to this corporate social responsibility program, and that's actually what sustains the project from A to B.
And you're talking about the safari industry, or are you talking about other
hotels, airlines, even restaurants in Victoria Falls, lodges? That extends on to what's known as what's come in the world, a market that's formed in the world known as plastic credits. Now, plastic credits follow the carbon credit market. And this is where companies around the world who produce plastic are looking to offset their plastic.
Yeah.
But also global brands like fashion and textiles, like companies like Columbia or Patagonia.
Yeah. Right.
Those companies, or companies like L'Oreal, Dior.
Yeah.
Those sort of luxury brands are also, they want to do good, but they also
want to make a profit.
It drives consumers to their products. So
yeah,
many consumers are becoming more and more conscientious, and they want to know what the company they're buying from is doing for the planet.
Yeah.
If they don't have the infrastructure to do them themselves, we provide that infrastructure. So by supporting us, they can say, we removed 1 ton of plastic from the environment. It gave a living wage to 20 women.
Yeah.
It mitigated X amount of carbon dioxide. It prevented this many animals from eating on this amount of plastic.
So this is helping underwrite the project, even though the project at this moment isn't self-sustaining.
Well, this makes it sustainable.
It makes it sustaining by getting.
So, I mean, exactly. Yeah. Before we've even begun, our corporate social responsibility revenue from different companies is at around $8,000, which is very modest at the moment, but we haven't begun. And the idea for this project is that the aggregate is an auxiliary income to the service we're providing for sustainability, for companies to meet their sustainability goals around the world. So we kind of started with a mission, and then we found a way to backfill it. And we found that there's a big market for that backfill. Like in Europe, European companies, European laws, EU legislation is now saying that tourism companies, not only do they have to meet certain sustainability criteria, but their downstream suppliers in Africa have to meet that too. Now, downstream suppliers in Africa are busy doing the business that they set out to do.
Yeah.
They don't want to set up the infrastructure to create a sustainable initiative that actually has an impact. But what they want to do is contribute to one.
Yeah.
And by contributing to one, they meet their goals.
Yeah.
We are that infrastructure for them.
Yeah. Well, that's a great secondary piece to what you do.
Well, it's actually a primary piece.
It sounds like a primary piece. But my question, though, my thought is there is so much plastic, though, on our planet, but let's just stick with even your section of the planet. Is there a way to move your operation to a place where there is more plastic
Absolutely. So
and
we
get
actually
more
had to get,
plastic?
we actually had to get machines made that were smaller. So the beauty of our machines is that they're made to do whole cities. We can do the whole city of Bulawayo, which is 1,500 tons. We can get, by putting 2 machines on the ground, we can do the whole city of Harare. And the good news is a large amount of plastic creates a relatively small amount of aggregate. So we really can address this on a mass scale. And I mean, our machines that are arriving in February, which are essentially our minimum viable proof of concept machines, they're the smallest machines that we could get to prove concept. Those machines alone will be able to do the entire plastic waste output of Victoria Falls town, 60 to 90 tons a month. So we're not putting a plaster on an open wound. We're healing the wound. Not only that, we are making plastic, and I can't believe I'm saying this, we're making plastic actually a force for good in the region because of the income it can bring people.
Are they still burning the plastic like right today?
The way the cycle works is those dumps get too high and they light them on fire. And the dump can burn so viciously with so much smoke that people mistake it for the spray of Victoria Falls.
You've already started though.
We've been collecting now for 3 months. We've collected about 20 tons. Our machines are now on their way. They're getting on the transport ship.
Okay.
The offtake agreements are signed. The product has been tried and tested. Obviously, we shipped the product from where they were being manufactured in New Zealand to be tried and tested. All of that is good to go. So as soon as the machines are commissioned, we will convert all of that plastic into
So you're
aggregate.
at the beginning. You're really at the beginning of this.
We're a startup. We're a finance startup. So the beginning was 3 years ago. Now we're a finance startup. The capex is we've raised enough money, and we're now in phase 1 of producing, proving the concept.
And then you've also been doing outreach, obviously, to companies. What do you call? Are you calling them sponsorships or?
They're called it's called our corporate social responsibility program. And we look at it as a service, not a donation. We're helping you meet your sustainability needs, and we provide marketing collateral, but also measurable metrics that you can publish in order to attract eco-conscious travelers and to meet your sustainability targets in order to be in line with regulations.
Is the plan to keep it in Vic Falls?
We set out to clean up our home. Our mission was to clean up Vic Falls. It was to clean up Livingston. It was to clean up Wangi. It was to make sure that no piece of plastic enters the environment ever again. And we're going to achieve that mission. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to expand, and we're going to set up major plants in Bulawayo, Lusaka, capital city of Zambia, and Harare. And we are going to set up collection points in all of the ecological areas, Kafui, Mfui, South Luangwa, all the major community areas within the Kaza region, Churundu, Kariba, Gonorozo, Lake Kyle, Nyanga. And we're going to drain all of those ecological areas and feed major plants in the cities. And so while our plan is to clean up every ecological, beautiful area of those 2 countries. And if that works, we're going to go bigger. We're going to keep going. Right now, we'd love to do Southern Africa. That way. I'd love to clean up the beaches of Mozambique. I'd love to clean up South Africa. I'd love to clean up Malawi. And the idea and what the team talks about is kind of franchising the idea and expanding it and letting other people take it and run with it. So much of it depends on whether enough companies around the world and plastic producers around the world will get on board with supporting it. And that if the plastic credit market forms the way it looks like it might form, where big companies that produce plastic pay you to remove the amount of plastic that they produce. Then we can scale to nationwide scales. But if we cannot, if that doesn't form, then we're limited to iconic destinations like Victoria Falls, where there's a vested interest for tourism and stuff. Yeah.
We'll be back with more Safari Changemakers after this.
Safari ChangeMakers is brought to you by Artisans of Safari. Beyond the map lies adventure. With nearly 40 years guiding travelers into Africa's hidden sanctuaries, we craft journeys as individual as your fingerprint. Expertly designed, deeply personal. Connect with Karin at artisansofsafari.com for your collaborative consultation. Your safari, your story. Artisans of Safari.
Just getting back to the aggregate itself, I mean, that's the solution, right? To the plastic issue. It's all part of the solution, but it has to be in demand and needed and wanted. The product.
The product has to be in demand. Yes, that was our main sticking point. Yeah.
How much does it sell for?
We match the market price of quarry stone. So for there's a wholesale price which is matching the market price, and there's a lot of construction companies, like the 4 construction companies that have joined us. They'll buy it at a retail price because they want to put an eco-friendly stamp on their construction company.
Yeah, the same.
But also, so basically, if we raise the price from the normal quarry stone price and we raise it by about 100%. To a residential house, like a wealthy person's house, all it does is increase the price of that house by 1%. So it makes a very small difference to their build, and then you're relying on story and people caring. And that market is smaller than obviously the industrial concrete world. So there's 2 prices. But we can match whatever price.
I'm imagining that giant pile of plastic in the middle of the ocean. If somehow this could work, it could really, take all the plastic.
The only way it can work is if companies that produce plastic are willing to sacrifice a minute amount of their bottom line in order to clean it up. And not just companies that produce plastic. If any company decides, I will shave off 0.2% of my bottom line and contribute to a plastic project, not just ours, but any project that recovers plastic, and pays them per ton of plastic that they take out the environment, we will clean up the plastic problem around the world. The solution is right there. The other solutions are limited by the types of plastic that they can remove, and also the world is coming to realize that recycling isn't really recycling. Our solution does all of it. So I think and seeing is believing. If we can get from A to B, if we can clean up all of the plastic of Wangi, Victoria Falls, and Livingston, and we can match the 300 to 400 tons a month, which I believe we can do, we'll prove to the world that we can do it. And then I think more people will help us.
Because we are talking also to people in the safari industry and also potential travelers to Africa who are interested.
We're definitely a show and tell. I know we've designed it beautifully. There's lovely gardens. You can come and have a coffee. It's not like your normal factory. It's going to be pretty with a lot of lipstick on it. And we'll take you on a tour of the factory, and you can put a ceremonial plastic into our machine. And at the end, you'll get to take home a little concrete token, a little concrete nugget to show what that became. And you'll have tea and coffee and a presentation from one of us. And you'll meet the ladies who do the operation, who are part of our collection teams. And we'll show you firsthand what we're doing. And we are very, very much a show and tell organization.
How important do you think it is to people?
I think anybody that has been on a holiday destination in the third world, if you've been to Asia, if you've been to the beaches of Africa, if you've been to South America, and you've looked at these picturesque places, and just next to the picture that you're taking, next to the scene you're taking a picture of, there's a dump of plastic next to you. I think anybody that has traveled in the third world, which is often some of the most beautiful parts of the world, has experienced how much these areas are drowning in plastic. I think plastic hits home for people harder than climate change does. Climate change is that invisible force that, but plastic is something that drives everybody nuts. Now, do people understand the impact it's having on the wildlife, on the ecology? No. That's what we're also trying to showcase. Do people understand when they are, I don't know, you go to a restaurant and you decide not to take a plastic straw, how little of an impact that actually is in terms of the plastic volume around the world? Even just not using a plastic bottle, whilst it is very honorable and I'm absolutely for it, plastic bottles only amount to 6% of total plastic. If all you have to do is look at the table in front of you, anybody listening to this, and count the number of plastic objects on that table.
Not just disposable plastic.
Just things in our environment, but I mean, a pen.
Right.
That eventually ends up on a dump site. All you have to do is go to a shop and come back and see how much plastic that you gathered in that shop.
Yeah.
Plastic as a material is incredibly useful. And I struggle to see a world where they replace plastic with something else. And then the question is, when they replace plastic with something else, what environmental impact does that replacement have? So if you can find a solution that is circular, that does deal with every type of plastic, then you can use the resource. It doesn't have a detrimental impact on our planet. And that's kind of where we are looking at the problem.
Are the folks who are using this machine in New Zealand, how are they doing with it?
They commercialize it into, they make concrete bricks, but they have struggled for two reasons. The first is they launched this before there was a global outcry about plastic. So they launched it. Yeah, so they launched their operation about 8 years ago.
Okay.
Now, the outcry about plastic has only been really in the last 4 years. And that's where things like the UN Plastic Treaty, if you go online, you'll read all about it, where 193 countries have come together trying to find a solution to plastic waste. It's also where the plastic credit market formed, where you can, through a third-party governing organization like Vera, who also are part of the carbon credit market, they can audit your program, and so you can sell a plastic credit to any company around the world. This company in New Zealand had tried to make the business successful based on aggregate alone. Because of that, they have struggled for the last 8 to 9 years. Our operation is not an aggregate operation.
Yeah.
It's a corporate social responsibility program where people can pay you to recover plastic from the environment.
You learned in dealing with these guys in New Zealand the challenges that they had. And
I mean, because I have an MBA in business, so I know a little bit about how to create business models and what would work financially and what would be enough incentive to dedicate one's life to. And the model that they gave us was none of those. It was a break even. It's a lot of work, and I need to eat, feed my family. I gotta. So we looked for other ways to make a remarkable solution financially viable.
I'm stunned because I'm also saddened because I have a feeling that the country that I'm living in is taking a step backwards.
America is not the only place in the world. The EU is very much on board with it.
So what can tourism players folks who are sending clients to Africa, what can companies do?
Small boutique travel agents. We've got a couple in the UK. They put $20 on every itinerary some going to Southern Africa, some going to Zimbabwe and Zambia. That $20, usually their minimum itineraries per person are $5,000 to $10,000. That $20 is negligible, and it's charged direct to the client. One of them have done that, and then they've also agreed to contribute a percentage of their profit, quarterly profits. Minor percentage. Other travel agents have agreed to do a fixed rate, so they'll pay like $200 and they'll charge $20 on each itinerary. And basically their goal is to get to $500 a month as a contribution. Lodges in the region, because we also provide a waste management service for them, we come and collect all their plastic from their lodge.
Yeah.
They can put a sign on their bar to say we are 100% plastic neutral, even plastic negative. I mean, that's a big call. Most of them are charging $1 on a bed night, or they'll pay us a fixed fee and charge $1 on a bed night. So they blend it between being a cost to company and being a completely negligible cost to the tourist. And that accumulation is working pretty well for us. Airlines like FastJet are looking to bring $1 on every plane ticket. And a little goes a long way. Every $500 can remove about 800 kilograms of plastic. About $500 can pay a living wage to 7 ladies for 20 days, if I remember the last impact report. And also what we'll send these companies is an impact report to say all of the measurable impacts that they've had, which they use to publicize. We create videos for them to show our collaboration, and they use those videos to market their organization as sustainable and contributing. And so a lot of what we've dealt with is the marketing departments of these companies as well.
I was going to say.
It is a big marketing tool, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's a saying in Zimbabwe, don't wash a dish unless your wife sees you do it. It has to be a win-win for companies to get on board. They have to see that it'll affect their bottom line. There's several studies that have shown that it does, that the eco-conscious traveler market is growing, that many travelers won't buy a company unless they have measurable impacts, not just greenwashing. Companies like EasyJet, when they moved to full sustainability, they found that their profits rose by, I think it was 11%. So it does have an impact. The world is changing, and so we're providing a way for companies to actually raise their revenue, not losing it. So, and that's what we have to be. We can't be a charity. We can't be a donation. We have to help a company win. And if we can help companies win, then we'll win.
Well, I've definitely seen in the last 2 years a big difference with clients and their interest level.
I think it also drives repeat clientele. So you'll go and you'll book your holiday with a travel agent or tour operator, and you book them because you've heard about them, you heard that they do great itineraries, you book them for the product that they provide. But then you also find out that they are doing their best to have an impact. And so not only do you enjoy the product that they've provided, you're like, I'll use them again because actually they're good people. Yeah. They're doing their bit for the planet. And where I think the real value lies is in repeat customers.
The longer you've been doing it, the more things change. As you've been doing it for a long time, you really want to be part of the solution.
Absolutely. And we believe that we can offer something that will offer a true solution. If you can provide, when you think about living on $1 a day, Karin, $1 a day, and think about now as a household, your husband's passed away, you have 2 children to feed, and you have no means of income, and somebody says, all you have to do is collect plastic, drop it at this deposit bank, and you will get 8 times what you were getting before to feed your family. And that's what tourism can do if they partner with us. And it's less about the conservation. Now, what I've learned on the journey that I've been on, this is about the community.
Well, last couple of questions. So a country like Kenya, Rwanda, they have rules about bringing plastic, single-use plastic bags into their countries. Just thoughts on those policies. What are your thoughts?
Brilliant. Any policy that stops that. But a plastic bag, like a plastic bottle, plastic bags, what that policy deals with 3% of the problem. You only have to travel around Uganda and Kenya to know that plastic bags are not the whole problem.
So ultimately, if this technology were to take off, the technology and the whole social responsibility piece to it in a country like Kenya, Uganda, other places, they would be able to replicate something like this and be able to turn those massive dumps and use that plastic.
That's the idea. We're creating a system. Our process is completely systematic. And that means it can be replicated anywhere in the world.
Do you have a blueprint for this going into like 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah. Our plan is to expand. Our plan is to find partners in Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Mozambique, to say, right, here's the system. Let's partner. We want it to take over. And I want young people like me, Ben and Rainer, who have a dream and a vision, to come to us and we say, let's do this together. And they do it in Kenya and they do it in Uganda.
Now, are you fitting this in between your day job?
I work hard. My company, Bush Tracks, they are actually, well, the chairman has become a shareholder in Ele-Collection. They're also partners in the corporate social responsibility program. So basically, I'm their sustainability side. But also my position, you got to think it might have been divine intervention or serendipity or something, because I am in the position at Bush Tracks where I am meeting all of the heads of companies.
Yeah.
And tourism. That's my job. My job is literally to meet people who own companies in tourism.
Yeah.
And so in the same breath that I'm discussing Bush Tracks, I'm also discussing sustainability. And had I not been in the position that I'm in, I don't know if we would have ever found this corporate social responsibility solution. It kind of merges with the job that I currently have in sales and selling safaris and bush tracks. So, and a lot of my job is presenting. I present a lot.
Yeah.
So the two tie in together. I'm not doing something opposite.
Any goals with regard to amplification of the message?
It's quite funny because it's starting to snowball itself, because the companies that have signed on for our corporate social responsibility program also want the marketing. So through their own leads, they are selling our story. It's a lot like me talking to you. You're telling our story. So people are starting to tell our story for us as well.
Have you had any opportunities on a larger scale?
In February, when we convert our first piece of plastic into aggregate and sell it, right? Take the aggregate, take the plastic, turn it into something useful, and have an end person who takes it away. When we finish that kink in the chain, then there's going to be a story to tell. Seeing is believing.
And next time I'm in Vic Falls, I can come and see it.
Karen, I'm going to take you to lunch. I'm going to show you around. We're going to drink wine on the porch and watch the plastic turned into aggregate.
Since we recorded this interview a few months ago, we're very happy to report that the Ele project is up and running, and they're currently collecting and processing approximately 1 ton of plastic a day into aggregate and selling it to the largest concrete manufacturer in Zimbabwe. The amount of plastic they're taking out of the bush every day is the weight equivalent of 100,000 plastic water bottles per day. That's the weight equivalent of 3 million plastic water bottles per month. Ele-Collection are looking to scale to 3 tons per day, 90 tons of plastic per month. They've also set up their first rural collection point and a collection point in Wangi National Park. They've also recently won a WTM Responsible Tourism Award. I'm so excited for Simon and the team.
Right. Well, we're going to let you have your evening and get back to your brand new baby.
Thank you, my little 5-month-old son. Karin,
Yeah.
thank you very much for the platform. I
Yeah,
appreciate the time you've taken.
so
All
excited
of the
about
little
this.
steps, yeah, they make a big difference. And I'm very, very grateful to you and for the time you've taken.
That's our show for today. Join the movement where every safari becomes a catalyst for change. Safari ChangeMakers. When we protect Africa's wild spaces, we all thrive. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you'll never miss an episode. Till next time, I'm Karin Jones.